Think the Kira talent interview is just a formality? Well, think again. Admissions committees aren't just listening to your answers. They are watching how you react when you don't have the time to polish anything. So why does this matter? Well, Kira catches you off guard and forces you to respond naturally so schools can see your real communication style. If you ramble, freeze, or struggle to structure your thoughts, admissions committees will notice. The good news? You can improve your real responses quickly with a few tweaks. With structured practice, timing awareness, and some minor adjustments, you can go from scattered to polished and confident fast. In this video, we will cover what admissions committees are looking for, how you can improve your Kira responses fast, and 5 common mistakes I see that you can avoid. Hi, I'm Caitlin Anderson, graduate admissions consultant and Oxford MBA who has helped hundreds of students win interviews and offers to all the top business schools in the world, including Harvard, Stanford, Oxford, MIT, and Yale, and win over $1 million in scholarships. So what are admissions committees looking for with the Kira talent interview? Well, I want to explain one important truth before we go any further. Admissions committees want to ensure that you will get a job after you graduate from their master's program. And if you don't, their brand will start to go down. So since many of the top hiring companies use extensive interviewing processes, the admissions committees for your master's programs need to understand how you're going to perform in those processes. So across your graduate application, they're looking for indicators as to your IQ and your EQ, and the Kira talent interview is going to tell them about your EQ skills. So when they're looking at your submission, they're going to be asking themselves, how does this person think and structure their responses? What's their communication style like? And what are their values? There are 5 main components that the admissions committee is looking for in the Kira interview. Number 1, leadership. Do you take initiative and do you stay composed under pressure? Number 2, teamwork and collaboration. Can you work with others and how do you navigate conflict? Number 3, critical thinking and problem solving. Can you structure a clear, logical response? Number 4, communication and presence. Do you sound confident and engaging? And number 5, professionalism and fit. Do you come across as a polished candidate? So the key is that even though Kira is unfiltered, you can refine your natural communication style with practice so that you sound structured, confident, and composed. So how do you improve quickly? Unfortunately, we usually don't have much time to complete the Kira assessment. My students typically get 4 days up to a week. So I'm going to give you 3 tips that will dramatically improve your performance in the Kira interview in a short period of time. So tip number 1 is to time yourself every time you practice. Tip number 2 is to structure your answers until it's automatic. And tip number 3 is to simulate the real test. So let's break these down. Tip number 1 is to time yourself every time you practice. But before you begin, you should go to your school's website and try to figure out how much time they're going to give you to read the question and think, and how much time they're going to give you to respond. Now, if you can't find that information in the email or on the website, then you should send an email to the admissions committee and ask them for that information. If they won't disclose it, then what you should do is practice by giving yourself 20 seconds to read the question and then think about your response, and then give yourself 1 minute to respond. Now I want to give you a hot tip here. I recently had a student complete the Kira talent interview for Imperial College, and they surprised him by giving him 5 seconds to read the question and think. And he told me some of the questions were very lengthy. So the camera came on before he was finished reading the question. So he handled it very well. He paused. He allowed the camera to film him reading the question until he figured out exactly how he wanted to start, instead of quickly trying to figure and scramble, and then it looked like he was unprepared. So it worked out well for him. He ended up getting the offer. Tip number 2 is to structure your answers until it's automatic. So I tell my students that for every question you're going to be asked, you must use the 3-part framework: introduction, body, conclusion. Now within this framework, you can vary it to accommodate different questions. For example, in your introduction, it may just be you directly responding to the question. But a lot of times what you can do in this introduction is set up the structure for your answer. So you say the claim that you're making, the answer you're giving directly, and then you say for these 3 reasons that you've made this claim in your introduction. And then in your body, you go through each one of those 3 and expand just a little bit, because you don't have much time, by giving a story or giving some evidence of that being true. And then you go to your conclusion, which is going to circle back to your introduction. But do not omit the conclusion. You're not done until you've given us a conclusion. When you need to tell a story, I give my students a framework called the STARL method. It's based on the commonly known STAR method, but I've added the L at the end for lessons learned. Now, this STARL method should be used in a Kira interview as the introduction, body, conclusion. So the S and the T are going to be your intro, your body's going to be the A and the R, and your L is going to be your conclusion. So the S stands for situation, T stands for task or problem, A stands for action, R for results, and L for lessons learned. So you want to spend the least amount of time on the S and the T, the most amount of time on the A and the L, because these are the 2 parts the admissions committees are most interested in hearing from you. Tip number 3 is to simulate the real test. When you're practicing, you want to turn on your webcam and record yourself so you can see what you look like. How are you coming across? Are you being friendly and engaging? Are you being monotone and stoic? And I'll tell you that depending on your natural style, you'll have to adjust your tone and your pacing. So I'll give you my personal example. My natural communication style is very quick, and I'm very expressive on my face. So when I'm interviewing or I'm doing something, meeting someone for the first time, I tend to lower my tone and slow down my speech, because I will not be understood and it may be overwhelming for other people. So if you're like me, you may want to do those things. Now, if you're on the other side of that and you're too monotone and you have no facial expressions like this, you might want to try smiling a little bit and raising your dynamics. So pausing and emphasizing certain things, and maybe try using a few hand gestures to liven up the experience of someone watching you. Remember the 5 components that we talked about the admissions committee is assessing in your Kira interview? Well, now I want to go through each one of those 5 and give you a common mistake that applicants will make and a tweak to fix it. First, we have leadership. And the common mistake that I see applicants making with this one is they will make claims about what they believe about leadership, but they won't give examples of when they've actually acted upon that belief. So the way you fix that is to, anytime you make a claim about leadership, you need to give me an example of when you've actually acted on it using the STARL method. Number 2 is teamwork and collaboration. And the most common mistake I see here is applicants spending too much time describing the problem rather than their solution. So the quick fix is to spend less time describing what happened, the issue, and more time on how you resolved it. Number 3 is critical thinking and problem solving. And the common mistake that I see here is that applicants will not explain how they made the connections they made to get their solution. So the quick fix is to explain how you knew what to do. So a lot of times we feel like it's instinctive when we make those decisions, but there's something that happened to you that caused you to think that this is the right way. So you need to explain that to the admissions committee. Next is communication and presence. And the common mistake that I see here is people speaking too quickly and too many filler words. Like, so. The obvious quick fix would be to slow down and use pauses instead of the filler words. So instead of saying, pause. Finally, we have professionalism and fit. And the common mistake that I see here is applicants ignoring what they're communicating non-verbally. So the background looks messy, or their posture is really bad, or they're not dressed sharply. Those things send messages. So the quick fix is to optimize your setup. Look at what is behind you and remove it. Only a plain white or off-white background would be great. And make sure that you maintain good eye contact when you're talking, and make sure that you hold yourself very well. I always tell my students to do this exercise, to raise their arms like this, turn them to the right, and then drop them, and then now lean slightly forward. And this is the right posture for the interview. Kira is about showing you can structure your thoughts and communicate clearly under pressure. The good news is that with a little bit of practice and the right tweaks, you can significantly improve your performance. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear how your application journey is going. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.